Welcome back from the break. You're still watching our parliament. Today we are discussing the report of the ad hoc committee on the energy sector and particularly the performance of the electricity subsector. We've heard what our panelists have got to say, but we'd like to hear from you, our audience. So let's go over to Nicholas Opio. Yes, Nicholas, what's your question or comment?
I think we're being overly unfair to UMEME for two reasons. In international business, companies go to weak states so they can make the most out of a weak state. That's why you have the highest density of phone companies in Somalia, of all places. UMEME has just seen a weak state and have come to exploit the weaknesses in our country. My own view is that the problem we are seeing is a governance problem. And if you don't address that governance problems, many hungry multinational companies or foreign investors will come down here. They will come down here and negotiate such contracts. I think that Parliament, we've had reports over reports on power. We've had reports over reports on many sectors. These reports seem to be only for steaming. We get upset, we quarrel, we make noise, forget about it. I think we must address the governance problems that then give rise to these sort of contracts. Because if you don't, the next time it will be something else.
Okay.
So please spare Henry.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. And that is the exact reason as to why we have this program, Our Parliament, so that you can have a say on what goes on in Parliament. Is Parliament just making noise, or is Parliament actually doing what we sent our representatives to do over there? Let's go to another comment from my audience. I have a lady over here in the front. Yes, madam, your name and your question.
I'm called Winter Ruth. Well, that doesn't justify Henry, because even though the government has got its own weaknesses, yes, but who is supposed to sensitize the public about any adjustments in UMEME, like Yaka? All right, thank you very much, Ruth. Yes, the gentleman putting on spec.
UMEME people have ignored the human resource department. You contract companies, NFT, NEC, and the rest. So the first person on the ground is the face of UMEME, the meter reader, the connectors. So these people mistreat the people. I don't know if you know that. You waste a lot of money, billboarding, adverts, and the rest. You ignore the first person down there. One of the things you should do, you should treat them as your own. Even if they are contracted, you should try to treat them as your own.
Justice says that, well, your foot soldiers are the ones who are making your job very hard. But before we come over to Henry from UMEME, let's come over to the MP. Well, is Parliament doing enough at the moment?
I think one is that if it were not for Parliament, we would have been worse than where we are. Because it was after the report of the General Salim Saleh that UMEME decided they had losses at 38. When he started investigating, immediately they dropped from 38 to 28 because of the exposure that Salim Saleh report. When we started investigating, UMEME and ERA did not have targets. ERA actually came, there's what they call restoration plan. ERA did not have it. We said, how can a whole government work with a private investor without targets? It is actually UMEME to set targets for themselves, not the government of Uganda.
So what recommendations do you have on ERA?
That recommendation on ERA, we said they must put in place the restoration plan. They must set targets for UMEME. And by the way, immediately they set targets for UMEME. And that is what is now saying in 2012, that now they had targets, the verification was hastened, now they are doing that. Do you know that UMEME controls 99% of the market? And our reporter said, if you're talking of privatization, liberalization, how can one company control 99% of the market of marketing? Open up, let other people come. Let me tell you, if you open up, and other people come, for us they are building Karuma, and you say northern Uganda, western Uganda, you UMEME, you only be in Kampala, or you only be in Wakiso, or this area, you will see how UMEME will fear competition. They will reduce losses, those operational costs. We pay 36 billion per year to UMEME for operational costs alone. Operational and maintenance costs. He was talking about what he's calling, is it OD or whatever? ODMs. We paid to UMEME operational costs, what he was talking about. Do you think if another company comes and say for us, money we collect from people, we are going to be the one to meet our own costs. Do you think UMEME will be in the market?
Okay, Henry, do you fear competition?
Okay. You know, the wonderful thing is that there are a lot of conspiracy theories that come out. And I'll first tackle with the one that we closed on, about the registration of UMEME, 11 days before signing of contract. The government met a number of potential investors to come to handle the distribution sector. There were 5 investors. The others who left and said, this system is too dead for us to deal with. CDC stayed. When CDC and government were going to sign the contract, the government of Uganda said, the company that will run this must be registered in Uganda. We can't sign a contract with CDC. So CDC was asked to form a company which would sign the contract. And that's why the contract was signed. The company was created 11 days before the signing of contract. There is nothing unnatural about it, and there is no conspiracy there. And that's why UMEME is a Ugandan registered company. Now, on to the Honourable Member of Parliament's comments about the losses. Salim Saleh report in 2009. There is a trajectory that clearly demonstrates the losses, how losses have been moving in this country. It isn't because of the report that losses collapsed. The losses were 35% in 2009. In 2008, they were 30%. In 2011, they were 27%. There's been a gradual, not a collapse, but when you said it, you made it sound like a huge conspiracy. Oh, they've caught us, let's do this. Onto the competitive environment of the distribution network. What was there to compete for? What was there to compete for in 2005? What has happened now? And why it is imperative that the energy goes to support the government's investment in generation is that create something that you can then look at and say, how do we want to manage this? You didn't have power. You're not generating power. You didn't have a system of distributing this power. You didn't have good collections. The environment has to be right to create a competitive environment. Look at the telecoms. When the telecoms came in, initially, what MTN was allowed to do was build and help build the infrastructure, then make it competitive. Then you open the market to other people. And as I said,
so are you planning to open up the market?
It's not our decision. No. It's not our decision. Why should they? I want to go to the question. The lady in front, Ruth, talked about Yaka. We are not yet on a national rollout of Yaka. There is no point in communicating Yaka on the mass media. We have to localize the communication to the areas that are going to happen. So you'll find that next year, when we have announced the rollout plan, which areas will be going on to Yaka, we will be spending months in those areas educating the people. It is a more localized communication. In terms of the image which Justice raised, the image of the company, you're right. We do have an issue with our contractors, but we meet with them regularly to try to help in training their staff on customer service. As a nation, we have an issue with work ethics. And I think all of the people watching this show and all the people here know that we have an issue. And we need to deal with it. And we need to work together to find that solution. So it's not something that we are going to carry as UMEME. If I have to go back to Dickens and talking about 11 lawyers and trying to look the victim and us as the big institutions, that is not us, all right? And I think that if we are challenged in a court of law, like every single individual, we must put forward our best defense team. If our best defense team is 11 lawyers, so be it. That we are entitled to, and everybody is entitled to it. So don't. If you want to take a fight to the courts of law, you be prepared for the fight.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry.